A big game is coming up on Saturday as Boston College plays against Florida State. We're going to be joined by Eric Hoffses to give you all the analysis, predictions, and previews about this game. All of this and more on today's Locked On Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. Thank you all for listening. This is our Florida State preview episode, and on Fridays, we are always joined by Eric Hoffses. Eric, how's it going?
I am doing great. I'm headed to my first BC game of the year tomorrow, so I'm amped up for that.
Awesome. So we're going to get to see it up close and personal. You do a little tailgating?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Can't wait.
Awesome. All right. So Florida State, a team that is 3-6 or 4-6, excuse me. But they've had their ups and downs. What are your thoughts about the Seminoles so far this season?
You know, they're interesting to me. I watched their first game of the year. I remember against Notre Dame, and they showed a lot of spunk in that game, almost beat the Irish. And one of my biggest takeaways, funny enough, was I was like, man, Jordan Travis kind of stinks at quarterback. Like if they had played Mackenzie Milton the whole game, I think the game turns out differently. And ironically, the rest of the season did not go like that. It looks like when Mackenzie Milton starts, they're 0-4. And it looks like when Travis starts, they're 4-2. So I don't know, maybe the team rallies around Travis. I'm not quite sure what that's all about, but like you said, like they're 4-6, but you look at their schedule and like their really only bad loss was that Jacksonville State one, obviously. Other than that, I mean, they've lost Notre Dame, Wake, Clemson, NC State. Like, so it's not like they're losing to crappy teams here, aside from Jacksonville State and Louisville's so whatever. But I think this was a game a couple weeks ago. I thought, might be a kind of an easier one for BC. Not a couple weeks ago. How about early in September? I thought this would be a easy win for BC later in the year. And now I'm looking at it, I was like, wow, this is another one of those 50-50 games.
Yeah, and if you're a Boston College fan and you want to know a little bit more about Jordan Travis, think back to the game 2 years ago, Adazio's last game season at Boston College. I think it might have been his last home game too. Florida State. It was Dennis Grosel, and it was the one that game that I think Boston College fans fell in love with Dennis Grosel because he was, the defense was doing absolutely nothing, and Grosel kept, hitting touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. And then it was Jordan Travis that really sealed the deal. I think he had like a 40-yard run to ice it at the end of the game. He really does present a challenge that I think is going to be interesting with Jurkovec back and hopefully the defense getting more time to rest in between drives and not being asked to do everything. It'll be interesting to see how, the Eagles do against a mobile quarterback when they're not asked to be out there all the time. What are your thoughts about how things could look a little different for this defense?
Yeah, for the BC defense, I've seen the stats go up all week. Like it's funny, like from all these BC coaching accounts, they seem to be flooding Twitter with the pass defense stats. I don't know if this is like a thought out plan by them or what, but it is interesting. They've all been tweeting it out all week. Hey, BC pass defense has been great. They've been really good, albeit against some mediocre quarterbacks, but the stats don't lie. The rushing defense, on the other hand, it has me a little bit nervous. While BC is kind of in the middle of the pack in the ACC, I don't feel like they've done a good job on rush defense when they go up against some of the better rushing offenses in the ACC, whether it was Syracuse, Louisville, even Georgia Tech last week. They struggled with the rush defense. So that concerns me in this game against Florida State. Florida State, fourth in the ACC rushing yards per attempt, fifth in rushing yards per game. So they're they're a good rushing offense, and honestly, that's one of the things BC defense has not been able to consistently do well this year, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think what we're going to have to see is like, how are they going to be able to take away some of those edge rushes? I think, Hafley talked about it on his press conference yesterday that, one of the Georgia Tech guys who was at a Florida State press conference, I don't know why he was there, but was asking about his thoughts on Jahmyr Gibbs. And he said, we tried when he got to the edge, we had specific defenses meant to bottle him up if he tried to hit the edge, and they still couldn't stop him. Now, hopefully that was just a Jahmyr Gibbs issue, but we've seen it happen quite a bit now where, those guys the speedier guys get to the outside of BC's defense and they cause problems. I think this is going to be a big, we'll talk bets later, but this seems like an easy over game to me. A game to pick the over on. Let's talk about the offense, because I think that's going to be the more fun matchup. Jurkovec is playing out of his mind. Eric, I want to, I've talked about Jurkovec, but one of my bosses said, play the hits. What were your thoughts about Jurkovec's performance on Saturday?
Yeah, that was epic. There's not much you can say about it besides that. I've seen some things float around Twitter, and I forgot who posted it, but one of those analytics Twitter accounts that kind of puts all the quarterback performances in a graph, so you can kind of visually see. And like Jurkovec's score was like off the charts, like one of the best. It might have been the best performance of the year. I don't quite remember, but in any event, it was one of the highest. Yeah, that was epic. And without that performance by Jurkovec, and probably some kind of lucky things that happened in the red zone with Georgia Tech self-destructing, the combination of those two, BC would probably be sitting at 5-5 right now, and this would be like a really must-win game for the bowl. But yeah, it was one you'll remember. And yeah, of course, in typical BC fan fashion, and I'm not bashing the fan base because I kind of thought the same thing. And it's kind of like, I feel like it's a thing like New Englanders do too. Instead of like soaking in and enjoying it, I see a lot of people like, oh, great, here we go. They're going to win out with Jurkovec, and he's going to go to the NFL, and we'll have this 8-4 season and end up in the Fenway Bowl or something. So that's funny to read, but honestly, I've had the same thoughts myself watching him down the stretch here. I'm like, oh, this is almost like the worst case scenario that he missed a couple games and now they're on fire, and oh man, it's but let's try and enjoy it and worry about that after the season.
Yeah, and the offense, I think, is going to face one of the more intriguing defenders I think Boston College has faced all year, Jermaine Johnson, defensive end. Go ahead. You can talk about it if you like.
Oh, I mean, the guy's just a beast. Like, especially early in the year, I read like the Phil Steele and stuff in the summer, and then like I kind of forget about the 200 pages of things I read about, and I just try and watch the games and see who jumps out. And that guy, like, I don't know, he might, if I can put in a category of guys that jump out of the screen at me this year, like he's probably been like the top 2 or 3. That guy is just a monster, and obviously a future high NFL draft pick, and good tests for the tackles on the BCO line. I know sometimes they mix it up where he lines up, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be some interesting battles up there. Whether Vrabel and Petrula can handle that, if they're doubling them up with some of the guards. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like to be negative, but I haven't really seen enough from Vrabel's year to tell me that he's going to be able to handle Johnson one-on-one. And if he does, might be a problem. Just being honest. Yeah, like you said, there's if he's lining up on Vrabel's side, I think you're going to need to see some help from someone, because he can't handle him one-on-one.
So a special announcement for our podcast. I'm going to have an extra episode dropping tonight. That's my crossover with Florida State. It's more me answering Florida State questions, so I didn't want to give you that as my preview. But it was interesting. The host of the Locked On Florida State said his prediction was that BC would score 17 points, and I laughed. I said, there's no way that BC is going to be held to 17 points. Let's give some predictions here, Eric. How do you think BC's offense is going to do, and what is your prediction for this game?
Well, I mean, Johnson's obviously going to be a issue, but I mean, it's not like Florida. This isn't like the 1990s and early 2000 version of the Florida State defense here. I mean, he's a good player, but Florida State is, middle in the pack, whether you talk about scoring defense, total defense. Like, teams have figured out Florida State. Like, they're giving up 27 points a game. So I'm like thinking the BC offense is not going to get, 4 touchdowns against them, I think is pretty foolish. I think BC scores minimum 28 points in this game. Probably going to need, I'm thinking high 30s, low 40s to win. I'm like you. I think it's going to be a shootout. So that's what the BC offense got to replicate what they did last week against Georgia Tech, and I think they can. I think the Florida State defense has better athletes and some better players than Georgia Tech's defense, but honestly, the stats don't lie at this point in the season, and Florida State's defense has not put up much better stats than the Georgia Tech one. So.
And I had to laugh too, and I got into it with him when he told me that Miami's offense was better than BC's. I was like, what?
No.
I'm like, no. Tyler Van Dyke is not better than. He's having a great start, and he could be very good, but he's not better than Phil Jurkovec.
Not right. No way.
And so I had BC. I have them just like you said. I think I went with, and I'm going to adjust a little bit. I think they'll score more points, but I'm going to go with BC winning 38-28. So again, a lot of points. I think BC's offense will be able to do that. Now, in a moment, Eric and I are going to go over some of the big games in the ACC. We'll get you your betting picks in, give you all the goodies there. This episode of Locked On Boston College is brought to you by McDonald's, proudly serving community since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's a place where friends and families can come to connect. I love McDonald's. It's usually a monthly treat where I get a sausage egg muffin. My son loves the Happy Meals. It's always a fun thing for him to get and see what he gets. And, he's a big fry guy himself. Now, head on over to McDonald's. You can get dependable Wi-Fi. It's a good place to meet up. Head over to McDonald's to refuel and connect. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. All right, Eric. ACC, big game this weekend for the ACC has to be Clemson and Wake Forest. Clemson seems to be coming on a little bit here near the end of the season, and their defense has always been their bread and butter to get through some of these tougher games. Can they slow down Sam Hartman?
You're right. They are playing better. But I mean, nobody's slowed down Wake Forest this whole year, even NC State defense, which is, I think, a tier below Clemson, but they put up 45 last week against NC State. So no, I don't think the Clemson D slows them down that much. I think they still get in the high 20s, and I don't think the Clemson offense can score in the high 20s.
All right. And then some of the other games we're going to skip: Wofford, UNC, who cares? Georgia Tech and Notre Dame, who cares? Virginia at Pittsburgh. I believe Brennan Armstrong is out. We talked about him last week like he was playing, but he clearly missed their game last week. 14.5-point favorite for Pitt. What are your thoughts on this game?
I would actually roll with Pitt without Armstrong. Pitt, actually the best against the spread team in the ACC this year at 8-2, and they average covering their games by 7 points. So I would stay with Pitt. They've been hot.
All right. And this is a game that I was talking about with Mitch Wolf. I have a 5-way parlay going this week. I have BC covering. I have BC going the over. I also have Syracuse covering against NC State. It's an 11.5-point favorite. I just get this sense. I know they got dragged by Louisville last week, but I get a sense that this could be the Sean Tucker game, that maybe he comes back and has a huge game, at least to keep it close. I think NC State will win, but I think it'll be less than by 11.5 points.
Yeah, I think that's a really good bet. I like that too. This game falls oddly on the schedule for NC State because it was sandwiched between that big game against Wake last week and the finale against North Carolina, of course, their biggest rivals. And Cuse down the stretch here, trying to get to that 6 wins. NC State are home against Pitt, so they're gunning for that win number 6. I love that pick by you.
All right. And finally, this game, it's an 8-point favorite now because Virginia Tech can Justin Fuente, but it's Miami with an 8-point favorite over Virginia Tech. I got a feeling it's hard to bet actually on this one because we just talked about BC and FSU. And I believe the last time BC played FSU at home was the game Higgins was the head coach after they let go of, was it Jimbo? No, Willie Taggart.
That's right.
And he had them buzzing. They were a team that was completely out of sorts, and they rallied around him. Now Virginia Tech, and I don't know the guy's name, has a interim head coach, and it looks like a guy that like all the players are behind. Can they maybe catch Miami off guard here?
That's tough for me because I'm not close to the program. Sometimes with these coaching changes, you get the team rallying. They're happy the coach is gone. I've never heard anything whether the players hated Fuentes or whatever. And that was such a weird thing. I read like they have to pay him like this $2 or $3 million buyout.
Yep.
Because they didn't wait until December, which is, I don't know. I guess we'll see what they do, but they better cash in when you make moves like that. In any event, though, I'm actually going to roll with Miami in this one because they're just a totally different team in the second half of the year as they were in the first half of the year.
So I'm going to pick a couple top 25 games. We'll just go over them really quick. The big game of the week has to be Michigan State and Ohio State. 19-point favorite for Ohio State here. Man, that seems like an easy pick for Michigan State, but Ohio State's playing really good football right now.
Yeah, that line smelled to me. That one jumped out, and I was like, why are they getting so many points? And usually when I say that, I don't win those picks. So I'm going to go Ohio State. And I talk about another, I don't know, I thought it was kind of a weird move. Mel Tucker got a boatload of money. I know Michigan State's having a good year, but the guy had a losing record as a coach prior to this season. And like, I don't know, it seems like he nailed one like transfer recruiting cycle here with some of these guys on the team and that's it. So I don't know. I guess they felt like they had to lock him up, but that one surprised me.
Yeah, absolutely. And then top 25 game again, Alabama and Arkansas. Alabama is a 20.5-point favorite. Again, it's a big spread and it's two top 25 teams, but I don't know. I think Alabama's in another world compared to Arkansas.
Yeah, I had Arkansas, I think against, I took Arkansas a few weeks ago against Georgia thinking like their style of play and stuff could like keep the game close, and they just got their doors blown off and their offense couldn't do anything. I mean, nobody can against Georgia, but like they were like going in reverse. It was crazy. So yeah, I can see Alabama laying the wood to Arkansas on this one.
All right, and let's head over to the Midwest Conference to talk about your boy Dadazio. Now, before we preface this pick, if you are not following Eric on Twitter, you need to. Eric, I don't know when you do this, but you seem to sit through a lot of Dadazio press conferences and cut out some good ones. Sunday morning, it's a nice treat, and this one's going to probably end at like 3 or 4 in the morning. So when you wake up and have your nice cup of coffee after Colorado State loses to Hawaii, you can hear Dadazio. You can hear Dadazio complain about, a variety of different things, or if they win, you can hear him puff his chest, which what one of the two is going to happen.
I mean, it's funny. It's funny either way. It's funny. I actually too. There was someone on Twitter that they were like they said I was obsessed with Dadazio or something, and it was an interesting take. I hadn't really thought that I was obsessed with Dadazio, but I was like, no, actually, I just find it entertaining to me to watch him like pretty much use the same excuses he used at BC, only at Colorado State. So it's funny for me. It's entertaining. A lot of BC fans seem to like it. And honestly, I think the reason I like it is because he's such an asshole and he treated so many BC, administration and fans so poorly. He was such a jerk, like in real life, that's why I like. That's why I guess I do like watching him fail and like watching him kind of sweat to the media out in Colorado because he's just a jerk. He's a very unlikable guy. So it's fun watching him lose. That's all.
I'm right there with you. I mean, as he referred to me as that bleeping bleep from BC Interruption back in the day. I don't have any love lost with him either. So are they going to beat Hawaii?
Well, I'm actually going to say no because one of the clips I didn't take from that press conference, there was just so many to choose from, but there was a great segment where someone asked him about the game, and he went on this rant about the plane trip to Hawaii and how it was going to throw the team all off. And like, it was just, although he did throw in, like, I do have experience. I took a team to Ireland before, so I do know what I'm doing here, guys. But it was funny. It just like, because every other coach is like, Hawaii's every other coach say Hawaii's on the schedule, well, we got to play them. Well, because they know Hawaii sucks, and it's not like a big deal that you have to fly 9 hours to play a crappy team. But Adazio he must have had a 3-minute like rant talking about that road trip. But in any event, yeah, I'm gonna take Hawaii in this one because I can't take Daz.
All right, Eric, where can people find you on Twitter?
For all my great college football and college basketball is heating up now as well. EJ Hoffses. My last name is spelled Hoffses on Twitter. And then for my barbecue business, Hoffa BBQ on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks, AG.
All right. And in a moment, we'll be back to preview all the games that are happening this weekend in basketball and hockey. We're back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. BetOnline has all of the Boston College action that you want over this weekend, including basketball. I told you all along, I've been going on the under. Maybe not against Utah, but we'll have to see what happens. A 2-point spread for BC against Florida State. I got to go with BC on that, and I'm going to go with the over of 52. Check all of the odds out at BetOnline. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, baseball, postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to make your favorite bets on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, man, if you know me, you know I am a fan of the Built Bar. It is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. It's 100% covered in chocolate, and it is delicious. I just had a coconut one on my way home from work today. Most protein bars are chalky, waxy, hard to choke down. You gotta have a big glass of water to get some of those to go down. Not a Built Bar. They are soft, covered in 100% chocolate, and when you bite into it, you will taste the difference. And what I love about Built Bar are the flavors. There's so many good flavors. You got to try them all. Whether it's raspberry, mint brownie, coconut almond, salted caramel, double chocolate, and cherry barcia. And right now I saw a limited edition blueberry muffin, which I tried, and it is good. Head on over to BuiltBar.com today and use promo code LOCK15 and you'll receive 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at BuiltBar.com. This is AJ Black, Locked On Boston College here. We already gave you all of our previews of the Boston College football team. I want to recommend, if you've not done so already, make sure to bookmark BC Bulletin, where I'll have even more coverage of the football game, including my in-depth previews and predictions, including my, of course, beer of the game. If you want to see what beer I am picking for Saturday's game, you can check that all out at bcbulletin.com. Now, this weekend is a big weekend for BC sports. You know, every team, it seems, has a big marquee matchup, starting with the men's basketball team, who will be facing off with Utah. Utah is obviously out of the Pac-12. They have a new head coach in Craig Smith, not that Craig Smith, and this is part of the Sunshine Slam. Now, if BC wins, they're going to face the winner of Tulsa and URI. God, I don't let them play URI again on the 21st. So there's 2 games this weekend. My predictions, I think they're going to probably lose to Utah, and I think they'll beat Tulsa. That's my predictions for this weekend. But anything could happen. I'd like to see, more than anything, I've talked about this at length, I want to see the team grow. And specifically after that last game, that dud of a game that we just saw, I want to see DeMar Langford grow from that. He needs to get so much more aggressive. You cannot win games with this team, with this roster, with DeMar Langford scoring only a couple points. He's got to be more of a factor. He's the kind of guy that can stop those long offensive skids that they got into. And like, he's so aggressive, he can get to the hoop. Let's hope he gets a bigger game heading into this one. So there's 2 basketball games this weekend. On top of that, hockey has a 2-game series as well against the University of Maine. Now, hockey, if you've not been paying attention, and I don't cover them all that much because it's so much, and football is king right now, they are 6-5. They are not playing all that well. They are 4-3 in conference. They need to start playing better, and this is the perfect weekend to do it while they have both games at Chestnut Hill. Now, Maine, they're Maine. They have a new head coach. Unfortunately, their head coach passed away at the end of last season. So they're still trying to find their momentum. They are 1-8. And so this has to be a series. BC needs to win both games. There's no other way around this. They need to win both games. And so expect BC. This is a perfect opportunity for them to jump ahead, to get into it, and get a big win. So anything less than 2 wins for BC hockey is not a good sign for this weekend. They need to win both games, and they need to get back in the win column and start stringing together some Hockey East wins. Against a Maine team that's really struggling, that's going to be where you start. Now, this weekend as well, women's basketball, they're going to play Providence. They need to also get back. It feels like everyone's losing right now. They need to get back in the winning column as well. That's going to be a good game. That is on Saturday in Providence at 1 o'clock. Maybe you can flip between that and the BC Florida State game. And women's hockey also has a game this weekend, and they are playing Holy Cross and BU. So big game for them on Sunday against BU. The women's team, if you have not been paying attention, is 7-4 with 5-3 in conference. So big games all around for BC hockey and BC basketball this weekend. Check all those games out, and we'll have coverage as on most of them on bcbulletin.com. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back on Monday with Mitch Wolf to talk about the game on Saturday. Hopefully another win. Maybe we'll get win number 7. You can follow me on Twitter at AJBlack_BC. You can follow the site at BC Bulletin, and you can find the Twitter feed for us at Locked On BC. Make sure you like and subscribe to Locked On BC wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure to like us on YouTube. Thank you all, and have a tremendous weekend. See you all again soon. Take care.